Yo,
Awesome.
what it do, what it do? Today we have my friend Logan Lessar here. He's a national motorist champion, business owner, and an online coach. Welcome, Mr. Lessar. We greatly appreciate you having you here on YTP Entertainment. Thank you so much. And today we're going to find out
Yeah,
more
man.
about you and learn exactly what other hats that you're actually wearing today. Thank you so much for joining us today. Greatly appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you having me on here. I've been looking forward to it.
Man, I was definitely waiting on this opportunity. You're actually doing something that when I was a young man, I wanted to actually do this. I
Yeah.
wanted to see what it would be like, but there were no opportunities for that to happen.
Yeah.
Guess I just wasn't in the right place at the right time. What can I say?
Yeah, must not have been.
So I was reading a bit about you as a motocross champion. When did you actually get started?
Yeah, I got started riding at like the age of 2 years old, which is a little ridiculous.
Wow.
But I didn't start actually racing till I was about 8. So I had a lot of just fun riding and stuff. Funny enough, though, my mom literally raced at one of the national tracks while she was pregnant with me. So I started before I was even born, technically, if we want to say that.
Oh wow! Talk about adrenaline. She had to
Yeah.
major adrenaline rush while she was pregnant with you, and
Oh
that
yeah.
carried over.
Yeah,
That
100%.
wow, that is too crazy. So, so how did you actually start getting into it?
Yeah,
What?
my whole family's been riding and racing for a really long time. And basically, mom and dad, they were racing heavily when they first got me started on a bike and everything. And then they just led me into the racing and I just loved it. So we just went all in on it.
Wow. So when did you win your first race?
Oh man, when was that? I got my first like medal, I think at the age of 8, and I don't even think I won. I'm pretty sure it was like a participation medal. So it was nothing impressive. But oh, actually, no, I did when I won my first race, it was on a 50cc. I actually remember perfectly now. It was at Milliken, Colorado at that track. And I had made a deal with my dad where as soon as I won my first ever race,
Oh,
then I would get a 65cc. And I wanted one so freaking bad because I wanted the clutch, I wanted the shifter, I wanted that
yeah.
extra speed. And then the race that I finally won, like literally that last lap and going over the finish line, all I was thinking about was, holy shit, I'm gonna get a 65. And funny enough, my dad had already bought it because he had so much faith that I was gonna win. So he had already bought it. He had it all set up. He had the graphics on it, my number, name, everything. So it was ready to go.
That's
But no, that was the first race I won, which was pretty cool.
that is cool. Oh my goodness. That is so cool. So during your race, did you have any doubts that you would win?
During that race, man, that was so long ago. I don't know. I can't remember how long I had been racing like the local circuit here in Colorado until I eventually won that one. But
Mhm.
from what I remember, I pulled the whole shot or basically started out in front and led the whole race, I'm pretty sure. And I pretty much just went. Although I gotta say, like when you've got something, like I honestly have learned that I kind of hate making those types of bets and stuff because
Oh,
then instead of focusing on winning the race, I'm like, I have to get that 65. Like I cannot lose this or I'm not going to get that next bike. So I
wow.
definitely making those bets is fun and all. However, it definitely adds that little extra strain and stress.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever get into any other type of sports besides motorbiking?
Yeah, so in terms of like highly competitive and actually competing,
Oh,
motocross is pretty much the only one. Other than like when I was super little, I competed in all the usual team sports as most people
okay.
do.
Yeah,
Experimented there, but I was always an individual sports type person. I just didn't really like the whole team aspect.
gotcha.
So I still do all of these, but motocross, extreme like downhill mountain biking, wakeboarding, skiing, snowboarding, and then when I was in Cape Town, I paraglided for the first time with an
Yeah.
instructor though, so it wasn't
Okay.
like just me.
Okay.
But I do want to get my license to do that because wow, that's another adrenaline rush. So
Yes, yes. That is pretty cool, man. I like that. I love the whole anything to do with adrenaline. I love
oh
it.
yeah,
Only difference is for me, it was actually an adrenaline rush to be on the basketball team and
yeah,
compete against all those people and see how many people I can actually dunk on. I was just like,
totally.
I'm so pumped to do it. Like, what? Act like
Yeah,
you want to do act like you want to
yeah,
get in my
exactly.
way. I'm dunking on you quick.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of different types of adrenaline rushes.
Oh yes, definitely. But it was so much fun though. It really was.
Oh,
And
I
after
bet.
that, I actually got into boxing. That was fun.
Nice.
I wanted to see how many times I can knock somebody out without getting knocked out.
Right. Yeah, that's the goal.
But it was fun though. It was. Plus, I was little doing boxing, so it was kind of like 10, 11, 7 years
Yeah,
old doing boxing. But it was fun though. It was a lot of fun being in
nice.
the little league. We still wore some of the same championship belts, but what can I say?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So you've been to one place where I really want to go. How was South
Yeah.
Africa?
Oh my God, I could talk about South Africa all day long. The first time I went there, I went to Johannesburg, which it's
Mm,
a pretty funny story of me getting there because I was only 17. So
uh,
I had to get the parents' permission, which was not easy.
okay.
And every single person who I talked to, especially like all the adults, all the like teenagers and kids, they're like, oh, that's so cool, blah, blah. And then they jack around and be like, just don't get kidnapped and everything. Whereas the adults were like dead serious. And this was mid COVID, like
Mm,
in the absolute heat of it. So that was even smarter of a decision to go there. But no, I went to Johannesburg. That was just such an unbelievable experience. And I stayed in Rosebank though, which is like really like a very, very nice area. Not like in Johannesburg. But then I went to Cape Town after that.
mm,
And oh my God, that is just the most amazing place ever. I love it there. I've been there 4 times now, and I
wow.
cannot wait to go back again because it's just amazing. The food is unbelievable. The people are so, so nice there. And just the beauty of it. It is seriously the most scenic, unbelievable place I've ever seen.
Hey, that is awesome because we were looking at my wife and I were looking at a TikTok where one young lady went there and oh my goodness, they bashed her so bad because she said so many untrue things about South
Hmm,
Africa. And she was talking about
interesting.
Johannesburg as well. And it was
Yeah.
just like, oh my goodness, they gave her the business on TikTok. She I don't even know if she closed her account down, but she probably should have.
Was she talking negatively about it?
Yes. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe that. And even the people in South Africa gave a rebuttal to her TikTok. And it was just like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, man. It's like, if you're going to say anything about it, at least speak the truth about it. And I
Yeah.
was like, I
Yeah. Yeah,
don't.
that's one thing. Like, first of all, for me, I always focus on the positive, and try to not really be negative.
Yes.
But aside from that, like South Africa, I've only been to South Africa, like that's the only place outside of the US so far that I've been.
Mhm.
But I mean, it doesn't matter. South Africa, Europe, South America, North America, like wherever it is, there's going to be really nice places, and then there's going to be places to avoid. It's really
Yes.
just about knowing where to go. And to be honest, at the end of the day, having common sense. It's like, yeah, if you go down that dark alleyway in the middle of the night, you're probably going to get robbed. And then if you tell
Exactly.
people that's what happened to you in Cape Town, they're going to be like, oh, I should never go there. It's
Exactly.
like, no, that's the one little part of it. Because no, I passed some gnarly places that I was like, oh my gosh, if I walk in there, I'm not coming out in Cape
Yes.
Town. But but like it's just about having common sense and being in the right areas. Like I stayed in Camps Bay, and oh my gosh, what an amazing place.
Hey, that's what's up. I mean, but when you think about it, most of the time people coming from America and going into other places, We tend to have
Yeah.
like a sixth sense for if a place is not a good area for us to go into, we'll tend to stray away from that area. But we don't, the one thing that we don't do in America is just run and tell a whole bunch of people, hey, don't go in this area because this is not that and this is that.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, because you want everybody to have their own opinion of a particular
Right.
place. And it's not to say that we want something to happen to them. The reason why we keep our mouths closed, because what if we were wrong about that place? And we say, hey, this doesn't look good. You may not want to go there. And then you get the
Yeah.
same backlash that the young lady got on TikTok. And no, I don't think I want that. Because there were thousands of people who literally gave her
Yeah.
clapback about her comments that she was making and her untrue stories. So that's okay. I don't want to go through that.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's interesting that she bashed it quite a bit. But yeah, and that one thing I have noticed about like America and my friends and family and people is that they have such a wrong perspective of other places, like especially South Africa. Like the first time I was flying there, my whole family was like, because I'm a picky eater, they were
Okay.
like, Logan, what are you gonna eat down there? I'm like, food, believe it or not. They have food. They were like, are you gonna eat lion and zebra and giraffe? I'm like, no, I'm gonna eat normal food because they have that there. And they just have such a wrong perspective, and it's but I can't blame them. Like when we were doing our research, because the whole reason I went to Johannesburg the first time, I didn't just like decide I'm gonna go Johannesburg. That place looks cool.
Right.
My
Right.
business partner lived there at the time, and he was like, "Bro, you got to come down here. It'll be sweet. We'll work together at the offices and all this stuff." And I ended up going down there, but that's why. So I had somebody down there who was like, "No, this place is amazing." Blah blah blah. Whereas every single article or anything that my family or friends looked up about
Mm.
Johannesburg in South Africa, it was all negative. Like there was nothing positive at all. And it's all just, it only focuses on the negative, which is why they have that perspective. So I can't blame them, but you got to experience it before you can have too strong of an opinion.
Yes, yes. One thing I'm concerned too when I go places is about media hype, because
Yeah.
media can hype things up and make it seem the most immaculate place in the world, and it could be the worst place in the world, and vice versa. Make it seem like it's the worst place in the world, and that could
Right.
actually be one of the best places in the world. So I'm always concerned about media hype, and I would much rather look into like reviews about places that
Oh, yeah.
I would rather go to, because when you think about the reviews, some of those people are pretty dead on when they're talking about different places that they go to and they visited. So that's one of the things that I actually look at. Um,
Yeah.
I noticed that you say you were a business partner. What type of business are you doing?
Yeah, so it's a marketing agency, and originally it was well, it's actually the same, but him and I basically worked together, or we did work together. We're not business partners anymore. Not because of like any big issue or
Okay.
anything. We just split because he wanted to do his thing, I wanted to do mine. So
Okay.
no, like we're still really, really good friends and everything. He's still down in
Awesome.
Cape Town. So
Awesome.
um,
Okay.
but no, we're good friends. But him and I worked together for a long time, and he was originally actually my mentor, and then ended up inviting me to
Okay.
work with him on the agency. And then basically I joined him, and I was like, hey, dude, I think we could both grow this to be huge. Let's partner up. And then we ended up doing that. And then the whole one of the reasons I went to Johannesburg is and this goes back to the whole like looking at the positive and at a surface level what looks like a negative situation. I was
Yeah.
actually racing and I broke my collarbone, and I that was in like September of 2021, I believe.
Okay.
And usually I have a really big race in at the very end of November every year in Florida. But in this case, I wasn't going to be able to do that. Him and I had been talking already about me coming down there, but I was like, man, I don't know when I'll be able to do that.
Mm.
Like I've got racing, I've got all this stuff, so I don't know when. So the stars kind of aligned there because I broke the collarbone, wasn't gonna be able to race for the rest of the year. So that's when him and I decided like this is a perfect time. I should go down there right now. So after a lot of convincing, that's when I ended up actually going down there and him and I working together and stuff. But long answer short, no, it's just a marketing agency, not like the most spectacular business in the world, but that's what him and I had been doing at the time.
Awesome, awesome. So, what are some of the things that some of the experiences that you had that would be good teachings that can inspire, the listeners that we have here now?
Yeah, I mean, there's too many to count. It really comes down to the specific thing that they're looking for help with, because when it comes to, I'm thinking anything in particular, like a specific type of experience or maybe thing
Mm,
that they're struggling with.
okay. Okay. So let's say that in marketing, a person is struggling with marketing their business. What are some of the key strategies that they can use to actually get that brand out there, get their name out there where people would actually
Yeah.
be looking to do business with them?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is that people too quickly jump to spending money, whereas I don't think that's necessary. To be honest, it's easier than it ever has been to grow organically online versus having to spend now than it ever has been because of Instagram Reels, TikTok, all these super, super viral media sources where you can post something and get millions of views without spending a single penny. So I
Yes.
think that's a big thing is literally just start putting out content. Like the more content you put out, the better. It's not going to be good at first. Like if you're new to content, it's going to suck, but that's okay. It's supposed to. You're new to it. Like it's not supposed to be amazing, a James Cameron film. Like you're new to it. So it's going to suck at first and it'll only get better as you move forward. That's something I always struggled with. I've always been a perfectionist, but then I just realized like,
That's
okay, you're supposed to suck in the beginning. Like that's how it works. That's literally how it works. The only way to get better is by doing. So it's really, I'd say that's the number one thing is literally start posting stuff and getting your brand out there with the free resources that you have, like especially Instagram Reels, TikTok,
mhm.
YouTube Shorts is really big right now. I know Facebook Reels is going pretty big. Everybody is kind of sleeping on Facebook, but I think that one's pretty big. But no, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, don't jump to spending money if if you don't if you're not already at a certain level. Like, if you're at the beginning starting out, like start with like almost make it a game. I like to look at everything as a game. Make it a game where it's like, let's see how much we can grow without spending a single penny. Like I like that perspective. I like the idea of bootstrapping businesses. And I think that's the best way to do it. And then eventually once it makes sense, it's like, yeah, let's go do some marketing and stuff. But first, let's grow as much as we can without spending anything.
Exactly. Exactly. That definitely makes a lot of sense. So in your business, what are some of the major things that you have done, or should I say, let me rephrase that. What are some of the challenges that you face that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, so with the agency, it's really it's that so the first thing is client acquisition was always a big issue. I don't want to get like too into the weeds into that kind of boring stuff, but like at a surface level, I would say one of the biggest things I had to realize was extending the timeline because I always expected like super quick results and everything.
Mm,
And an example of something that I did that made me realize this, and actually the watch is now represents this. I'm very, what's the word? It'll come to me later, but this watch represents this now, and every time I wear it, it reminds me of persistence and basically just not being, I don't like patience. I like to go after things rapidly, but understanding that it takes time. So when I went to Johannesburg, I had never bought like a nice watch before, like an actual watch. Like I've had like an Apple Watch and stuff, but I'm talking like an actual mechanical watch and everything.
right.
So I went to the store and found one and bought it. It was like a $300 watch. And then I decided I was like, okay, I hadn't closed a new client in South Africa yet. So I was like, all right, I'm going to keep it in the box. I'm not even going to look at it. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to wear it. I'm not going to do anything until I close my first client. And I was sitting there like, ah, man, I'm going to close one in the next couple days. Easy, easy. And then I'll be able to wear it. 3 weeks later, I finally was able to wear the watch. And I literally, when I closed that client, it was my biggest client ever, and it felt amazing. But now that watch represents persistence and how things usually take more time than you think they're going to.
Mhm.
So it's kind of that idea of be patient where I like Gary Vee's thing where he says, uh, it's like micro versus macro. I'm trying to think of the exact phrase he uses, but it's basically understanding the macro where things are going to take time, especially good things,
Mhm.
but attacking every single day as if you need to achieve them as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So if you don't, it's like going to the gym, like you need to work really hard every day at the gym and you need to actually push yourself in order to grow. But
Mhm.
just because you pushed yourself really hard that one day doesn't mean you're going to walk out with a six pack. Like it's going to take a while. So
That's
you need to work hard in the macro or in the micro, which is like now, but
mhm.
understand the macro outlook, which is it's going to take some time and consistency.
Definitely. Definitely. I like that. I like that answer. No doubt.
Yeah.
I like
So that's one thing.
that.
But one
That's
thing I
what's
will
up.
mention is the marketing agency has kind of been it's what I've been doing for the last like three or 3.5 years. And
Mhm.
that's kind of being put on the back burner now because I'm moving into the like personal branding and coaching side of things because yeah, I just love it and love helping people and just growing myself. So yeah, the marketing agency is definitely more of on the back burner now.
So what keeps you motivated?
So that's a big one. So last year when I was in Cape Town,
Uh-huh.
this is the first time I went to Cape Town. So I flew to Cape Town and my business partner, because the reason I actually ended up going to Cape Town is because he moved there. He moved from Johannesburg to Cape Town.
Okay.
And what was funny is the whole time I was in Johannesburg, him and I had been talking about potentially doing like a weekend trip to Cape Town because he was like, bro, it's such an amazing place. Like it's so cool. It's a little more expensive than Johannesburg, but it's so beautiful. We never ended up taking that trip while I was in Johannesburg, but then after I came home, he ended up moving to Cape Town. So I was like, sweet, now I get to go down there. So I ended up going down there. He was out of town for like the first week or so that I was there. So I flew there on my own, and I was 18 at the time. I had just turned 18, and basically I landed there. There was nobody there that I knew because he was the only one I knew, and he was out of town. So I had to get like the Uber and go to my Airbnb that I booked, which I hadn't even seen it in person. And I must say, if he's watching this, you weren't very helpful in telling me where to book because the Airbnb I booked was in a little bit of a sketchy area.
Oh wow.
And that was a little nerve wracking. So overall, like I landed there by myself and had to Uber to this place. And literally, as I got closer, I was like, I really hope that all of a sudden I come out and it's like really nice right where my place is. Cause
Uh,
it was like the driver was driving and I was like, oh, this is not looking good. And then he ended up stopping, and I literally was like, okay. Luckily, we're only going to be at this particular Airbnb for like a week or so.
right.
But long story short, he wasn't there. That happened where like I was kind of flustered because I was like, ah, this looks like a sketchy area. I don't know this place, blah, blah, blah. And overall, I ended up just getting up early every morning after getting everything settled and everything. But I kind of went through a stage that week of genuinely feeling a bit depressed because, and I also deal with jet lag sometimes. Like the first couple days, usually my emotions are going haywire. So one thing I learned is every single time I fly down there, I'm like, for the first couple days, if not week, don't even pay attention to your thoughts. Like in one ear, out the other. After a week goes by, then you can pay attention to your thoughts and maybe take some action on it. But at
Mhm.
least for the first week, just be like, okay, whatever that thought came, just let it go.
Yes.
So that's one thing that I did learn. But that first week I was there, I genuinely felt kind of depressed and stuff, and I just didn't know why I was there. I literally was waking up just sitting at the same like table in my little kitchen in the Airbnb, working from my computer, 10,000 miles from my family, friends. Courtney wasn't there yet, so there was nobody there that I knew. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I getting up so early? Why am I working on this? Why am I so far from home? I had basically at that point I hadn't like given up on racing, but I basically was transferring away from racing into this full time, which racing is all I had done for years. That was my life. So I
Okay.
was kind of leaving that. So I was like, is this the right thing? Like, I don't want 5 years from now to regret this and wish I would
Yes.
have kept racing. So that was like a major eye opener. And basically, what I realized, I was like, okay, I have to figure out why I'm doing this. Like, why am I actually working on this business? Why am I here? Why am I doing all of this?
Mhm.
And one thing that came to mind is you hear about all of these people who end up being very, very successful, billionaires, millionaires, whatever they are, who end up very depressed. Some of them even commit suicide and everything. And
Yeah.
I thought of that and I was like, I never had a doubt that I would get to that point, and I still don't have a doubt in my mind. However, at that time, I was like, when I get there, the last thing I want is to have that happen where I don't know. I'm like, I get there, I get everything I thought I wanted, and then I'm like, this is it. This the what's next? This isn't what I was expecting, and then feeling that way. So that's what I was scared of. So that kind of started my whole journey into not started, but it really like leveled it up of looking into mindset. I ended up working with a mindset coach for a few weeks while I was down there, and she was amazing. I worked with her with racing for a little bit too, so that's kind of how I knew her. But that's what led me into mindset and really just figuring out my why and everything. So after doing all that, that's really how I kind of have my motivation is I know my vision, I know my why, I kind of know what I'm doing. It's not about the money, it's not about the fancy cars or the girls or the travel or the yachts or whatever it is. It's not about that because that's not the goal. Those are milestones, not the goal.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was the that was the big event that shifted everything in terms of motivation.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's awesome how you actually did things to actually come out of that rather than to just let it try and smooth over on its own. Because a lot of times people don't come out of it. And when they don't come out of it, a lot of things start to
Yeah.
go downhill for them. And so it's a blessing to actually get to hear this because now you get to motivate other people to understand what it means to actually get help rather than to try and just brush it off and say,
Yeah.
okay, I'll get past it. What if you don't? Then what happens? And I just don't want to see anybody go down that road and not understand the impact that help can actually have on you. Because it's a beautiful thing to get some help when you need it, no doubt.
Yeah. No, 100%, 100%, especially on things like that. Cause I knew at the time I was like, I have to figure this out now. Cause I was genuinely terrified. I was like, man, 5 years down the road. Cause I was giving up the biggest part of my life, which was racing. And racing, what's amazing about it is because I'm really, really close with my family, my parents, my brother, because
Mhm.
we've just raced our whole lives together. Which my brother's actually right now or he's about to be going to the biggest race in the country, which I've raced at multiple times. So he's literally like there right now.
Awesome.
But I've been really close with them. So it wasn't only giving up racing and winning and competing, but it was also giving up the number one thing that my family and I do together and have done for years. So I sat there in Cape Town. I was like, I have to figure out why I'm doing this and why this is worth it.
Mhm.
Because 5 years from now, I do not want to look back and have any regrets of giving up the racing too early or whatever it may be.
Yes.
So
Yes. I totally agree with you. I understand that, no doubt. I'm glad. Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
For sticking around because we wouldn't have this interview if you had just let it go. You
Yeah.
definitely have it. So I'm grateful, definitely. So tell
No,
me
I am
something
too.
for each one of us who do things that we feel are great to us or an accomplishment for us, there's usually someone who we've influenced, encouraged, or someone that looks up to us. Is there anyone that you had an impact on their lives?
Yeah, so the first one, which he'll never admit it, but my parents have told me, and I know for a fact, is that my brother looks up to me. He'll never admit that, but I know he does. And I gotta say, I'm glad that I'm the person I am because I know that I'm a good person to look up to. And I know that I've impacted him a lot, especially recently with his racing. He's seriously leveled up with his racing. He's seriously killing it. He is gotten so much better in a really short amount of time. And I think I mean, I don't want to take all the credit because he's worked his ass off, but him and I did have a deep conversation, literally just driving one day where I talked to him, and I basically told him, and this is a belief that I came across actually when I was in Cape Town, or didn't come across, but just I came to the realization of it
Mhm.
after going to South Africa, which I basically had a conversation and I was like, listen, dude, you can go all the way with racing. Like you can be one of the best, like genuinely, because I was like, you're already really good because he's 14. I had to think there. I forget sometimes. But he's 14 and I was like, you're really good already. You've got the skills, you've got the talent, you've got really good form, you're training at the best facilities out there. You can really want to, but you have to really want it. I talk about I posted some videos on my Instagram about this. I don't like the idea of plan B. I like going all in on plan A.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I told him is I was like, if you really want this, you need to go all in and really, really focus. Which means like at the training facilities, listen to every single thing that coach says and implement it immediately. There are no down days. There are no days that you don't feel on it. When you're on that bike, you need to be putting everything into it that you possibly can and focus out there. And that's kind of how I was. I was like, no messing around. Like I'd see all these other guys who were training out there. Not all of them. I mean, obviously, plenty of them are really working their asses off, but there's a lot of them who were out there just kind of messing around, having fun, laughing, all this stuff. When I was on the bike, it was all business. I was like, this isn't, I'm having fun. I'm having a good time, but I'm here to get better, like, period. And I want to focus on that. So I told him that I'm like, you need to focus out there every single time. And a concept that I also came to the realization of, which is kind of simple, but I have a way of explaining it that I like, which is you have to do more than the best in order to surpass them. And an example is like if you had two cars that were racing and one car was in the lead by, say, like half a mile and the other one was behind. If the one in the lead and the one behind are going the same speed, aka doing the same thing, doing the same training the same amount, all this stuff, then the
Mhm.
car behind will never catch the one in front. Like they're going the same speed. But if the
Exactly.
one behind is doing a little bit extra and is going even 1 mile per hour faster than the one in front, is doing that little bit of extra training, that little bit of extra studying, whatever it is, eventually the one behind will catch and pass the one in front. You have to do that extra. So I told him that. I was like, listen, all these other kids you're training with at these facilities, they're all good. They're all talented. They're all training with the same trainer. They're listening to the same things the trainer's saying. They're implementing the same stuff. The only way you can expect to get better than them at a faster rate is by doing more. So I was like, after you're doing your training sessions with the actual trainers at these facilities, you need to go out and maybe do one extra session on your own and focus on something you want to focus on. And then back at the RV or the motorhome, because that's how we live at these facilities is in your RV or motorhome.
Yeah.
Hence why we're very close as a family because we're all in a very tight space. Which I've got some stories of times that we weren't so close with that. But um, but no, so I was like, when you go back to the RV after training, you have YouTube now, dude. Like go on YouTube and there is so many resources on there now of like the best of the best pros explaining technique, and you can even watch the actual national races in like slow-mo and really like look at what they're doing and then
Yes.
take notes, act like you're studying in school and literally take notes on this stuff and then go and
Yes.
implement it and try it. So I had that conversation with him, and then genuinely, he actually started doing that. Even my parents, I told them that I had this conversation with them, but I was like, don't mention that I told you guys. Like, don't tell him I told you guys, because then he's not going to do this. Like, it needs to be a brother thing,
Right.
not a
Right.
parents telling the kid thing. Um, and then they communicated with me while they were at the facility with him, and they're like, Logan, he is seriously focusing. Like he's not on social media at all. He's watching film and YouTube after the training sessions. He's literally putting in the extra effort, like all this stuff. And I was like, that's awesome. He's actually doing it. And now he's killing it. Like he's seriously going to, I think, kill it at this upcoming big
Yes.
race. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. But
Oh my
long
goodness.
story short, that's one person that I've impacted. And then aside from that, I've currently got my mom and my dad both on, and a buddy of mine on the program that basically I'm pushing on my social media and everything which is to level up your level up physically and mentally, which obviously I've done a lot with mindset, but more recently I've really doubled down on getting in shape, because over the years I've focused mainly on the business side. I've stayed healthy, like eating healthy, going to the gym, but I didn't really focus on like my macros and what my workouts really were and the different body parts that I'm exercising every day and stuff. So I've
Yes.
been focusing on that more the last few months, and I got them on the program now. So that's been a like more recent thing that the family has all been on. And that's also what I'm pushing on the social media, is getting more people on there, because the results have been pretty good for myself as well as the family and everybody. So that's kind of the more recent stuff.
That is awesome, man. I love it. Oh my goodness. I love it. Yes, indeed. So how has self-improvement bettered your life?
Oh man, it's it's amazing because the self-improvement just allows you to, like, every day I can control my emotions, reactions to things, and I can control how my day goes. Like, people say, "Oh, it was such a bad day, blah blah blah." I'm not, I don't really have bad days, because it's a perspective shift, and it's just kind of how you approach the days. And I've also got my routine and my self-development system that works for me. Like, for example, I get up at 4 a.m. every morning and get to the gym at 5, and I start the day with 2 wins, which is, first, I got up earlier than most people, so that's a massive win. And then the second one is I went to the gym and worked really hard, which, leaving the gym, there's very few better feelings than leaving the gym, because you just feel at an ultimate high. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel so freaking good. So the self-development is literally just a daily process that just keeps me in check, and just makes it so that there really can't be any bad days, especially when you started off good. So that's a big thing. But I think the biggest thing is how it's gonna affect me moving forward in the future.
Mhm.
Because, for example, in Cape Town, when I was going through that period, if I just pushed that off and I was like, oh, whatever, just push through this and everything, and I wouldn't have really nailed down into the mindset, my why, my vision, like all those things,
Mhm.
then that would have impacted me very negatively moving forward, I guarantee. So it's more like the long term for sure. Like, I know all of the self development, it's just gonna set me up good for the long term.
Awesome. So what are your near future goals?
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm still running the agency on the side, kind of as a side thing, but I'm going all in and really focusing on building the personal brand, getting on cool podcasts like this,
Yes.
and
Thank you.
and and just looking to help people. Which, I'll be honest, when I first got into the business side of things, the agency, all I wanted was the money. Like, I was like, I just want to make the money, I just want to make sales, I want to get that commission, blah blah blah. And I didn't really care about my clients and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
once I started actually working with the clients, and after making some money and then basically actually working with them, then I really started to care. And I was like, I want to get these guys really good results. And there was no better feeling than a client like sending me a message and being like, thank you, like, this is working, like, this is amazing, blah blah blah. Like, there was no better feeling. And there was also no worse feeling than getting on a call, because some of the clients I worked with, we just could not get results for. And
Mhm.
every single call I would get on, I'd be about to enter the call and I'd be like, oh my God, this is either going to go bad or really bad. So, and that just sucked. So over time, I just realized, like, I genuinely like helping people. And then aside from that, like, the mindset and self-development has been so huge in my life, with even the racing too. Like, that's where it originally started.
Yes.
So now just kind of helping other people do that, because like I kind of put in my bio, I wake up to a life I like to live every day, and I still have a long way to go to achieve my vision and goals. But the problem with most people that I see, and I used to be the same way, is they get so attached to the end goal that they completely detach from today and the
Yes.
present, and
Yes.
actually, like, the journey. Like, everybody says, enjoy the journey, blah blah blah, which most people push that off. But if you really figure that out and figure out how to enjoy the journey, then
Mhm.
it's like, wow, like, it's amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, going back to the main goals and everything, I really just want to grow the social media, grow my Instagram, keep pushing out the content, keep doing podcasts like this and reaching more and more people, and then getting people in the program, which has changed my life. So it's something that I know will change other people's, because it's changed mine.
That is awesome, man. That is a blessing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I can relate to is helping other people because
Yeah.
I myself, I also do relationship coaching. So any types of relationships, mother and son, husband and wife, any types of relationships, I actually help people to build better relationships, more solid, and understand that there's a structure and a foundation that allows you to even come in contact with one another in the first place. So I
Yeah.
definitely can relate to that. And as you stated, it's not about money, it's not about fame, it's not about fortune.
Yeah.
For me, it's about what's right here, what's in the heart, and just being able
Yeah.
to help other people to to become achievers, overachievers, whatever it is that their desire is, just as long as they're reaching a goal that they want to reach, I'm happy. I'm
Yeah,
at
exactly.
the highest peak in life when I see and hear the success stories come back my way. That's what I
Oh
like
yeah.
to see.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's no better feeling.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's the greatest. So, on your daily pursuit to um, self improvement, like you said, the mindset and things of that nature, what has been the most important thing for you yourself that has helped you to incorporate that concept into your everyday life?
Think one of the biggest things is I think it comes down to your physical being and your how in shape you are, because I mean I never dealt with being overweight. I was always the skinny kid, like the super slim skinny guy all throughout school and up until recently, to be honest. And now like I mentioned, I've been focusing on my fitness and macros and nutrition and all of that a lot more lately, as I've kind of set the agency to the side and I'm like, all right, let's go all in on the self-development, personal brand, everything. I have genuinely never felt better before. And there's no better feeling than like looking in the mirror and being like, yeah, let's go. Like that looks good. Like I feel good. That's just a great freaking feeling. And that kind of starts everything, because if you look in the mirror and don't like what you see, that's technically the same thing as not liking yourself. And you're not going to work very hard on someone you don't like, and you're not going to put that much effort into someone you don't like. So if you don't like yourself, how can you expect to really work that hard on yourself? So I think the physical side of things is one of the most important for sure.
Mhm.
um but then with the self-development and everything, I think it definitely comes down to understanding where you're going and your vision and your why and why you're doing everything. Like why are you getting up at 4? Why are you going to the gym every day? Why do you care about getting in shape? Why are you working on a business? Why are you doing all these things? Because without that, it's kind of, you're gonna, I don't really like motivation because it kind of comes and goes. You're gonna lose that like drive within you. And you're just gonna kind of be like, I could take the day off, or I could blah blah blah, I can miss or whatever. But if you've got like that really strong why and vision and know where you're going, you're like, I can't take the day off. Like I cannot do that. Like I can't miss a workout because I know how bad I'll feel, and I know that that's one day wasted towards getting where I want to go.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, indeed. That is tough. That is really
Yeah.
tough to actually put yourself in that type of position where you feel like, mm, who is this person in the mirror that
Yeah.
I'm looking at? Not only do I not like what I see, but who is this? This is not the person that I grew up with. This is not the person that I've been knowing all these years. Once you
Yeah.
look in the mirror and you start to look at yourself in the opposite of what you originally were, it's painful. It is.
Oh
It's
yeah.
mentally and physically painful. It is. So definitely, I agree with you. You definitely have to get yourself on track and put yourself in the mindset to say, hey, I'm gonna actually turn this person back into that person that I once loved, and it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be some work, but if you are serious about it, you're going to put that work in, no doubt. You're going to put that work in and get it going. So, what advice do you have for people who feel stagnant?
Think it's just they don't. I think it's because they don't have a trajectory they're aiming for and they don't know where they're headed. It's kind of like if you were driving, if you were about to drive somewhere and you don't know where you're going and you don't know the destination, well, then you're going to be stagnant and you're going to be stuck because it's like, what turn do I take? Like, imagine if you were in a car or even standing at like a four-way intersection and you have no destination. You're going to feel stressed. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to just stand there still because you're like, I don't know where to go. So I think the number one thing is really mapping out and figuring out, okay, what do I really want? And then after figuring out what you want, and it's digging deeper than, well, I want to drive a Ferrari. I want to be able to travel. I want financial freedom. I want blah, blah, blah. Like those are very baseline surface level things. You got to dig into like very specifics.
Mm-hmm.
And then after figuring out the what, you have to figure out the why, which is like, why do I want that thing? And a lot of people originally, especially I think younger people, when they say like they want to drive the supercars, which there's nothing wrong with, like I want to drive the supercars, but when they first get asked the reason why, like why do you want a Ferrari, they're gonna be like, because it's sick, because you'll look cool, because you'll get the hot girls,
Yeah.
because blah blah blah. But that's not a deep enough reason, because once you get that stuff, you're going to sit there and eventually it becomes kind of your baseline and your norm. And then you're like, what now? Like, what next?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've never had a supercar yet, but I know just from what I've heard and from people who do have them, they're
Mm-hmm.
like, once you, after the first week or two, it just becomes your car. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's a Ferrari or a Koenigsegg, like the one above me.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Eventually, it just becomes your car.
Mm-hmm.
So having it as like the end goal is not a good thing, because once you get it, you're gonna once again be stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the big thing, is figuring out the what, like what do you really want, getting extremely specific, and then figuring out why, like the really deep reason why you want those things.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I feel like this. Anytime you want something, and just like you said, you have to figure out the whys. But when you want something, make it have a purpose. Make
Oh
it
yeah.
something, a purpose that's going to be everlasting, not something that's good for today, good for tomorrow, and then after that, it's all gone. You want to have
Yeah.
everlasting purpose, irregardless to what time frame you are in your life. Anything that you do, and this is something I teach my children, anything that you do needs to have an everlasting purpose, because anything without a purpose, it dies. But
Yeah.
when you have a purpose for that, that's something that lives on throughout the duration of the time that you and whatever it is have this bond, this relationship, the togetherness, whatever it is between the two of you, that's something that will last the entire duration. So
Yeah.
that's important. So
Yeah.
what would you advise for people who are trying to continuously have that drive, that hunger to build themselves, especially at such a young age, to build a six-figure agency? What would you tell them to help them get to that point?
I think so. The first thing is definitely mapping out the why and where you're going in your overall vision, so that you know why you're doing it all,
Mm-hmm.
versus just kind of working endlessly without really knowing why. Because that's what happened when I got stuck feeling kind of depressed in Cape Town, is because I didn't have that why. I was just working endlessly. But the next thing is, once you have that and you know that, you are not going to feel driven and motivated every day. Like that is just not real. And you're not going to feel, even on the days you do, it's not going to be all day. It's going to be temporary, like very temporary. Like most days when I do feel like really motivated and ready to go, it's probably for an hour out of the whole day, if that. Like most of the time, it is not for very long. So really you just got to have that why and everything, but that is also not going to pull you to do the things you need to do all the time. Like at least you know where you're going and you can figure out how to get there because you have that clearly mapped out. And then when you start to feel like, oh man, is this all worth it, blah blah blah, then you think back to the why and you're like, yes it is, because I've got my purpose, I know where I'm going, like that is why I'm doing it. However, when it comes to motivation and staying driven and really sticking to it, it all comes down to really, I I think that one of the things that holds people back the most, which has held me back a lot previously, which I'm currently like actively working on, is cutting out the emotion, because I think emotions are what kind of ruin you when it comes to achieving the things you want. I don't think emotions are bad. Like emotions are very, very good. However, when it comes to like doing the work you need to do in order to get where you want to go, build that six-figure agency or whatever it is, you need to do the work regardless of how you feel. Like it doesn't matter how you feel in the morning, you need to do the same things. Like if I wake up in the morning and like last night, I went to bed, I could not fall asleep, and I looked at the clock and it was like 11:30 and I had my alarm set for 4, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to get a lot of sleep tonight." But I went to bed, but I still got up at 4 and went to the gym because I was like, I have to do this. Like I feel like absolute crap after sleeping in. Like I hate sleeping. If I sleep in till 7, like that's sleeping in, and I hate that because I'm like, oh my God, it's already 7. That's 3 hours gone that I could have put elsewhere or something like that. Um, so really, I think it just comes down to understanding like you're not going to be motivated all the time. You're not going to feel that drive and that fire all the time. So it's really just about my favorite quote ever that I actually literally use every single day. Whenever I feel the emotions or those negative thoughts or whatever come in, once you have the blueprint and you have like the things you know you need to do that have the highest likelihood of getting you where you want to go, it really just comes down to doing them. So I love the quote by Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick: "Don't think, just do." Because your thoughts and emotions is what's going to keep you from doing the work you need to. Like if you got to make those cold calls, if you got to send those cold emails, whatever it is, it's literally like, I know I got to do that. I know I have to make the calls. So don't think about it. Just do it. Like that's it. Don't think, just do. And I literally will say out loud whenever I feel those emotions or those thoughts come into mind, or I call it the bitch voice, where it's basically telling me like, oh, you don't need to do that right now, or blah blah blah, like just go chill, or no, go back to bed, whatever it is. Then literally I'm like, don't think, just do. Like I just, you know, you need to do it, so don't think, just do it. And
Yes.
then afterwards you'll feel much better. And one thing also is when it comes to motivation and everything, it's the motivation to actually start on it. Like if you need to cold call or whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's literally like motivation. The main thing it does is it gets you to at least start cold calling or start the task.
Yeah.
Once you're doing it for like 5 minutes, usually you're in flow and you're kind of going and you're in the groove and you're getting stuff done and you feel good. So really all it takes is like to just, if you feel those emotions or those thoughts, it's like, I don't want to do this, I don't feel very good, or blah blah blah, literally just be like, I'm gonna do it for 5 minutes. I'm gonna do it for 5 minutes. If I still don't feel like doing it after that, I can stop. I guarantee 99.9% of the time, after 5 minutes, you will not stop. You'll keep doing it because you're in flow, you're in the groove, you're getting stuff done. And for me, there's no better fulfillment than getting things done that are going to move the needle forward. Like my favorite feeling at the end of the day is when I go to bed and I just feel exhausted because of how much got done that day. Like if I go to bed and I don't feel exhausted and I'm like, oh man, I procrastinated or whatever, I feel horrible. But the
Yeah.
days that I really feel exhausted because I got so much done and I didn't think, I just did things,
Right.
then I'm like, oh, that was a win. Like today was an overall win. So I think that's the big thing. So
Yes.
yeah, long
Totally
story short.
agree. No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And you're definitely saying things that people need to hear. One of the things that I love the most is interviewing some of the young people, and one of the reasons
Yeah,
is because it shows some of the elders that not all young people are sitting back playing video games or going out chasing girls or chasing boys or just not doing anything. It shows that.
yeah,
And when I post this video, I am going to be excited because of the fact that it's another young person. So far, you've been like the fifth or sixth young person that I've interviewed. And I just love the stories. I love seeing what you all are doing, especially when you say some things that are impactful. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love it because
yeah,
it's an opportunity to prove the world wrong when they're saying these things about all these young people don't want to do anything. They're so lazy. They're this, they're that. It proves them wrong. And I'm one of those people who, just because you saw this person in front of you not doing anything, it doesn't mean that the rest of the world is not doing anything. It's just
yeah,
that person. That's it.
exactly. Yeah, I know exactly. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I do feel a little nervous when I see my generation and I see what they're doing, and I'm like, "Oh Lord, the world is ending." But, but then I'm like, okay, there is still plenty of us out there who are doing things and are leveling ourselves up and are focusing on the self-development and getting better every day. So there is still hope. But
There it is.
I do see where the elders or the I don't even know. Gen Z? No
I'm
way.
Gen
I don't even
X.
know.
I'm
Or
Gen
Gen
X.
X, Gen X's. I don't even know all the names of the generations, but I do see where they're coming from when they're like, oh my gosh, this new generation is horrible. I do see it. However, there is still hope.
There is still hope.
Yeah,
And I love that. I love that there's still hope. So
definitely.
I'm so happy to have you here, Mr. Logan. So tell me, give our people something motivational, something impactful to take us out.
Overall, everything you can genuinely achieve everything in life, and I think it comes down to understanding two things, which is one, no one is coming to save you, which some people say, well, obviously, like that's obvious to some, and that's scary to others. To me, that's exciting. That is very exciting because that means that it's in my hands. And that means that everything I do, everything I want to achieve, whether or not I achieve it is 100% up to me and is within my hands. Like the likelihood or probability of me achieving the things that I want is not in some other person's hands, and it's completely up to me, which I find very exciting. So first of all, I would say understand and accept that fact that nobody's coming to save you and it's all on you, but don't be scared, be excited about that. And the second thing is taking on the belief that everything is your fault. And although, yeah, like shit happens, things happen that are not in your control, like things happen that you wish didn't happen, that you really didn't have control over. However, if you can take on the belief of that was my fault, like I could have prevented that, then you have an opportunity to learn from it. Because as soon as you put the blame on somebody else for something happening to you or your situation or whatever it is, you're like putting a barrier between you and the chance to learn something. Whereas if you, doesn't matter what the scenario is, if you basically say that was my fault, then you can learn from it. Like if I lost a race, I could be like, God damn it, John took me out, like my bike wasn't working, my mechanic messed up or whatever it is. Or I could end the race and be like, man, my endurance was not where it should be. I got tired towards the end. The heat got to me. I need to exercise more in the heat, and I need to do more endurance training so that that doesn't happen. I also had some mental blocks out there where my mindset kind of got messed up and my mind started kind of roaming when I should have been focused on the race. So I need to figure out how to prevent that and recover from it while I'm out there quickly next time. So by immediately taking the fault and taking accountability, like I lost this race, then you're able to be like, okay, how can I prevent that from happening in the future? And this even comes to like, for example, if a family member or a friend, if they're getting into vices or drugs or drinks, I'm just using this as an example, you could be like, it's my fault that they got on that. It's my fault that they started drinking. Like, how can I prevent that from happening in the future? And the thing with that is not only by thinking that way can you help them and other people, but you can also start figuring things out and thinking in certain ways that'll help yourself and prevent yourself from making those same mistakes. So yeah, those are the two things that I'll leave people with, which is A, it's all on you, but be excited about it. And B, take accountability for everything and just look at everything as if it's your fault. Because once again, that puts the control in your hands in all scenarios. Plus, it allows you to learn from basically every single situation.
Oh my goodness, Logan Lessar, impactful. I love it, man. Thank you so much for that advice and for letting the audience hear that coming from. And once again, we're proving people wrong every day. We still have hope. We still have hope. We're proving
Yeah, we do.
wrong every day. So, Logan, you still have the floor. Please let our people know where they can follow you, reach you, subscribe, like the whole nine.
Yeah, the number one place is Instagram. So that's where I'm posting every single day. I'm posting my like daily routine. So you'll see me doing my daily push-ups every single morning, usually at 4:30 when it's pitch black out and I'm about to go to the gym. So I'm posting things every single day on there. That's where people can follow me and also connect with me. If anybody wanted to join the program and really level up physically, mentally, and also financially, because by leveling up in the other two areas, that will directly impact you financially as well. And I know it has for me, and I know it does for other people. So if they wanted to join that program, they can message me on Instagram and get the info on it. But yeah, that's the main place. And my Instagram is Logan_Lessar. So yeah, people can go check me out there. And even if they don't join the program, I try to post really valuable content on there to just help people out and help them level up in those areas regardless.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Logan.
Yeah,
and guess
sure.
what? You definitely can say that you have yourself another follower because I would definitely be on there to support you, no doubt. No
Love
doubt.
it, man. Love it.
Logan Lessar, everybody. Thank you so much, Logan. This is definitely a pleasure. I appreciate you actually coming on to YTP Entertainment. Definitely gotta see how we can put our minds together and help some more people out here in the world. Thank you very, very much, Logan. Have a wonderful day. Peace and blessings to you and your family. And stay strong and stay steadfast on your journey.
Same to you, man. I had a good one. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.